know that my mum is our biggest fan, and she now can't share this video with all of her mates. Hi, Mum. I know you're watching this. Hello. I could just talk over you, but then I'll suddenly go, "Ugh!" whenever you swear, and people will know that's what. Oh, my phone just buzzed. I hope that wasn't an annoying noise. Oh well, too late. So I thought I'd just put the camera on while I'm doing some stitching. This hopefully will be the last bit of stitching I do on this coat. It's not really anything in particular, it's just yet another sort of over stitch around the edge. I would move it closer, but I can't. My phone is facing the right way, but the wrong way for me. Also, this is my new phone. It does filming. Yay! I have no idea what it will look like, so no one might ever see this, and I might just be talking to myself. But hopefully, if you are now watching this, then it has worked. Hello you at home, wherever you are. Yeah, I'm just sort of... I guess I'm just going to ramble on while I sew. I've got to do all of this. I'm going to put it in shot where I think I know where it is. So I've got to do all of this line, and then a bit around there. But also what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because the coat is still brand new, basically, even though I've been working on it for 2 years. But it's not really got any sort of aging on it. So I want to sort of have at it with a bit of sandpaper and some leather dye. I did try dyeing the inside of the coat, but because it's actually a synthetic material, it's not natural, it didn't take. And I haven't tried any synthetic dye, which might work, but all this inside is ever so slightly darker. You might be able to see that. But that was a hell of a lot darker, because I wanted it either interchangeable or I just wanted the inside as a darker colour. But then it kind of all faded out, even though I'd left it in for much longer than the dye suggested. You know, with all the right amount of salt in it and whatnot. But it just didn't take. So my only conclusion is that it's synthetic. But Andrea's giving me a glare, so I'm probably wrong. No? Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, why are you making out that I'm so horrible?
I'm not making out that you're horrible. Just that I live with a... No, I'm not going to say that. A very lovely person whom I love with all my heart. Oh, she doesn't believe me. Well, tough, you're stuck with me now. Yeah, so this should be the last bit of stitching I do on this coat. Well, it's not, actually. And some of you will know why. It's not because there's a big empty bit on the back, and I'm going to do some applique, and then I'm going to hand stitch, or I might machine stitch around all the edges. But the Imperial Horse is the symbol of our nation, and I'm going to stick a whopping great big one on the back. Some people would say like on a biker jacket, but I don't know anything about those things, so it might be, I don't know. But that will be the very last thing I ever do to this coat. However, what I was talking about before, which I've just remembered, is because this isn't aged at all. There's a little bit, like there's a bit that's frayed there. Basically, I want to put some rips and some slashes in it that I then re-sew up again, so it sort of looks like I've been using it and I've been in battle with it. But that I repaired it because this is apparently the only coat I have and the only coat I wear, so you know I need to look after it. I did redo the sleeves, which is why they have this stitch line along them. They're that much shorter than they used to be because they sort of came down to you know, I wanted rolled sleeves up here so that I could have all of that as my arm wraps. But they ended up coming sort of down here, and then they took up a lot more of my arm than I expected them to. Which is fine, it looks alright, but when you think about your arm, you've got to think about it in hand, lower arm, I guess forearm, and then your upper arm as different areas of things that could be going on. And when you've got a sleeve that goes down here, it's all very plain on sort of this area of your arm. So now with them raised higher, I guess, or taken up, there's now more room for my lower arm to have different stuff on. So you'll be able to see more of my wraps, you'll get to see more of the armour that I wear, and sort of any jewellery. So those bits have sort of been aged, and they've now got a, it's an obvious repair because I've just cut them, because I and my character will have just cut them off and put them back on. And what I kind of wanted to do, and what you don't see anymore, is underneath before I had the fur on, I was going to have the arms as just totally detachable, and have them with some eyelets and have them thonged together. Not that I ever would unattach them, but just have it so there's that option. A bit like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, he always wore the sleeves on his coat, but they made it as if it was a real coat, and in the summer you'd need to take the sleeves off. But I never got around to that, so I didn't do it, and then I put the fur on instead because I had to make Fal look a tiny bit more Ashbourne than the rest of the Skywise, because he used to be, and orcs are fiercely proud of their history and their banners. So he had to, much like the face paint, had to keep a little bit of his heritage. So I put the fur on, which I think looks really nice. It bulks me out of the shoulders a bit more, it makes me a bit wider. I might add some bits to it. I don't know, I like it as it is, but it is a little bit plain. So that might get a modification, but the actual coat, the actual cloth bit of it, after I've done this edge, and then the giant badge that's not subtle at all on the back, will be done. And the fake repairs, of course. So yeah, I'm going to film doing the badge on the back, and I'm going to film all the stages of it because I want to show. I kind of want to do a little applique tutorial to sort of show how easy it is, or not how, just how possible it is for anyone to do it. Because it's sort of, all of this is applique on. That was just bits of fabric I glued on, then stitched around. In fact, that to there was machine stitched, and then I couldn't get the machine on these bits, so I had to do them by hand. But it's, it's the bit of detail you can add to your kit that only really takes time. It's not, it is just passing a needle through a bit of fabric a lot. I think I worked out each one of these patterns, at least when I started, took about 45 minutes each. I'm sure I got quicker by the end of it, and the ones with less lines probably took less time, but definitely when I started, I calculated it would take like 16 days or something ridiculous to sew them all. And, like I say, it took me 2 years to finish this coat, but that I haven't finished. But it's taken 2 years so far, and it's not sort of... It's just a labour of love, isn't it? And it's like most kit, especially an Orcs kit, you will add to it for the whole time you wear it. It's not, it started off... This coat in particular was a Suak coat that will have had a history before Fal wore it, and then he picked it up, put it on, and then made it indistinguishable from sort of what it used to be. I'd like to think there are Suak paintings underneath the tabards that I've put on, not sort of to hide them, but it's kind of because if you're going to do an orc brief, you don't just want to wear another nation's kit. And this way it sort of harks back to us getting scar-sinned and us sort of not joining the nation as much as we would have liked to that one time when it nearly happened. But I can have a bit of kit that I can say proudly is a Suak coat, but is definitely a Skywise coat, more so than anything, and isn't just me wearing a bit of another nation's kit brief. And that's going to knot itself together. No, it's not. Let's put that back through there. So yeah, I didn't really have anything planned that I wanted to talk about. I thought I'd just sort of, I'm going to spend all evening sewing. I thought I might as well whack the camera on, see if it's any good, and just sort of ramble to myself as I sew. Andrew would usually have some music on in the background, or probably have something on the old Netflix, but instead I'm going to be talking, which is a bit well, I do talk to myself a lot. It's one of those things when you're making, especially at work, if you're sort of zoned into what you're doing, if it's a bit of a menial task like this type of embroidery is where I'm just doing a long stitch. If I'm doing some sanding work on some fiberglass, or if I'm polishing stuff, or doing some wire wool, or even just watching the machine at work making a load of rings, you kind of zone out and talk to yourself. And this morning I was doing a load of sanding and I was thinking about a scabbard that I want to make. I've got a huge sword that I bought for Fal last event or the event before. One of the. I think it must have been the last event, E4 2018. And not that I'm ever going to use a sword, because Fal doesn't take the battlefield in Anvil. But I love the idea that he's got a giant big sword, bigger than himself. And what I really want to do is put it on a nice wooden plaque and hang it in the Imperial offices behind my desk, so I can have a big sword. Obviously I'd need to ask Severin first, and Kalua I suppose, if they would let me put it in there, because they are the masters of the Imperial offices. However, I'm pretty sure they'd be okay with it, and I think it would be quite a nice little set piece. But I was trying to work out how I would hang the sword, first of all, because all the stuff in that tent is hung between the poles, so it would need to have either some rope on either end of it, or it would need to be something that freestands, or it would need to be something that could be attached to the centre pole of the tent. But I haven't figured that out yet, but I have figured out how I can keep it so that it doesn't get nicked. If it was on a plaque horizontal, then I could just put two wooden hooks that are most likely lined with foam that it sort of rests on, and then have two hooks above those with padlocks on, so they sort of clamp around the sword. If that's, if the backboard's there, then it'd sort of be two hooks like that the sword sits on, then two hooks like that, and then like a padlock in between. But you would just be able to slide the whole thing out. So if there were two pegs that on top, if that's the crossguard, if there were two pegs there with the hilt, they'd stop it going outwards. But you could still just unlock the padlocks, open the hooks, and then take it out. So it's, it's never a quick draw sword. A sword that's 5 foot tall is never going to be quick draw, but I like the idea that it's on display and that it will have a nice little etched plaque that says some cool stuff on it. and sort of explains why it's there. Yeah, I mean, it is fairly common knowledge now, so I'm happy telling people, but Fal has taken not a vow, but there is a specific reason that Fal doesn't fight, and there is a specific reason why Fal doesn't take the battlefield in Anvil, and there is a specific set of circumstances that will mean he does. And once those circumstances are reached, then the sword will get removed from its plaque and taken into battle. However, that's not happened yet, and hopefully it won't ever happen. I mean, we've got 5 years to go before, and no one's going to break that treaty, so we shall see. Everything could change next event. You never know. It's that sort of up in the air. But there we go. That's what I was thinking about this morning when I was sanding. Just sanding a load of prime coat, really. Nothing in particular. Nothing especially interesting. But, you know, work that I had to concentrate on and do carefully and meticulously, and it sort of left my brain to think. Now, annoyingly, because I've got such a long needle, I've no idea where our short ones have gone. But annoyingly, because I've got such a long needle, I'm going to waste all this thread, and I'm going to have to knock that behind it. How are we doing on the back here? Oh, we're still recording. I was worried that the light wouldn't be light enough, but it seems that it's all right. So I'm going to tie that off behind here. Then what I'm going to do is get another bit of thread and hopefully it be close enough that I don't have to what was I saying? Hopefully the thread will be close enough that I don't have to go anywhere. Or not go anywhere. That I don't have to go very far for long, and I can leave you running and not, and you won't get bored. Because that way, then you turn off and it'll be useless. So let's use some horribly blunt scissors. Amazing. Instead, I'm going to use a scalpel that I also know is horribly blunt, but not as blunt, and cut that off. So we're getting there. We're still, I'd say we're about halfway. I don't know if I'm going to keep filming for the whole thing. I might do, and then maybe just edit out some talking. I don't know. We'll see. As Bob Ross would say, let's get crazy. Let's get crazy. I really miss watching Bob Ross. We used to, obviously because both Andrea and I are artists, we do sort of have those dark, depressing phases where nothing we can do is right and everything we do is wrong, and, you know, the world is against us, as all artists will feel at one time or another, if not all the time. I used to watch, or rather we used to put Bob Ross on the telly, particularly of a Saturday morning, just if we're feeling a bit low or on in the background. In fact, we used to watch him a lot when we had our tea. I don't think he's on Netflix anymore. I'll have to have a look. But we used to sort of watch him, you know, we'd put an episode or two on just to liven ourselves up a bit, because watching wholesome content that is stress-free and really uplifting is a great way to, one, to remind you that, you know, creative people do very well in this world, and two, to just take your mind off things. Because it's very hard. I mean, you know, as many of you will know, I have no work-life balance at all. I am constantly doing, you know, either full-time work, my own work, or armoury work. And, you know, as far I count LARP as work because it is, well, it's basically advertising for what we do. I count Empire as a holiday because that's the only game we play anymore. Although we trade through Umber Armory, so we're still, you know, we're still got stuff out there. But as I was saying, I have absolutely no work-life balance. I think Andrea's is a little bit better, but if I'm not working, I feel like I should be working, so I can't have a rest because then I stress out that I'm not working and I'm not being productive, and it's just a vicious cycle that, you know, I've had a series of well, every time I've got to the end of a long project, I've gotten seriously ill because I've overworked myself and I haven't slept to get to the deadline. And, you know, I've made it and it's been great, but then my body shuts down for a week. It happened almost without fail after every major uni deadline. And then when we sort of, before we had the armory, if we were ever short on work, or if we were working from home and doing a lot more stuff, you know, trying to make our own work, I'd often get fairly ill because I was, you know, if you're working from home and you've got no sort of normal 9 to 5 like a normal job, you kind of keep going until you get stuff done. And I actually hospitalised myself at one point, not necessarily from overwork. I got glandular fever, which was horrible. I think it probably was stress related. I don't know what else it could have been, but I ended up in hospital only for 3 days or so. Yeah, I met an accountant and I managed to sell a shield. That was awesome. You talk about turning your downs into ups. But anyway, you know, that doesn't justify me going to hospital. I then stupidly did some fiberglassing at home because of it, which was a really, really bad idea, and have not done since. But there we are. So we used to watch Bob Ross a lot to alleviate the stress, and it worked. Sadly, a lot of the stuff we like to watch is really, really sad. So when we are monging out or watching telly or whatnot, it will usually be something depressing because for some reason we both enjoy that. Mindhunter's a good example. That was a great TV show, but bloody hell, was that depressing. Yeah. Anyway, watch uplifting things and they uplift you would be the motto for today. Hopefully this is a bit interesting. If not, well, I mean, it's not uplifting, but I don't know, maybe you'll enjoy listening to me ramble and watching some sewing going on, I guess. What would have been a really good idea, and it's something I've been thinking about for a while, is a lot of the stuff I do is really, really tactile, and it makes a lot of great noises. So had I had, or if I do have in the future, some sort of better recording device, what I would have done is probably done a segment where I'm just sewing, and you know, recording the noise, because I can hear it, you probably can't. And when the needle goes in and when it comes out again, it makes a really satisfying noise when the thread goes through the fabric. You know, like a lot of the menial sanding work I do actually sounds really nice when you listen to it. And when you get that, I mean, you can tell when someone is just recording themselves sanding for a video. You know, if you're not planning something smooth or you're not actually sanding, it sounds awful. But if you're actually sanding, you can tell the difference. Well, I can tell the difference. I'm sure no one else can. But it's the sort of thing that you could put an hour recording on of, or you could put on an hour recording of it, and it'd probably put me to sleep. Talking of sleep, Andrea and I both, I'm talking a lot for her, but I'm sure she won't mind. We found it hard to sleep recently, and off and on, mainly just because of stress, I imagine. We sort of, winter as always goes a bit quiet. So, you know, our work is seasonal. It's not wholly seasonal, but the LARP season does affect our work, and of course winter is one of the slowest times of the year. Up till Christmas is good because people are buying Christmas presents. But then, as of, you know, Boxing Day pretty much through to What's Your Game in the beginning of February, it's fairly quiet. So we've been listening to The Honest Guys, which is, well, I know Rick Van Man. I don't know him. I watch his videos. He obviously doesn't know me. But it's his sort of main channel, and he does meditation videos, and they are amazing. I do not sleep better than when listening to them, so I would certainly recommend that. You know, I could tell you what's in the first 5 minutes of the videos, but the rest of it I don't know because I'm sound asleep. But a lot of his content too is just, I don't know, it's not really a plug. I'm just, you know, talking about the things I enjoy. I really enjoy Rick's videos. I really enjoy his allotment series. That was just sort of really mellow and nice to watch. And his van builds, I would absolutely love to get a camper van. It's certainly not anything I can afford at the moment. I mean, realistically, we'd have to get a van without a camper modification. We'd just need a van to work. But there you go. One day I'll trade in the little Peugeot and we'll get a van, and then I won't have to lug half a ton of metal rings around in a car that probably doesn't have suspension designed for it, and maybe has more than enough room to see out the back. Although I suppose with a van you don't have a back window anyway. Now, I've just noticed we've got to about the half an hour mark. So I guess if you're still here, then you're probably going to stay for a bit longer. If you've made it to half an hour, ooh-wee, it's a long old time to listen to someone rambling with not a lot going on the screen. I doubt there's going to be, I mean, I don't know how to edit videos. I don't know whether I'm going to ping it over to Sammy. One of the things I found out today is apparently, because it's a Google phone, I might be able to put it on my Google Drive that I guess I might have or have to make. So stuff apparently gets backed up immediately, which is great, because if it means I don't have to email myself from my device to my computer, if it can just magically be there, then that would be amazing. But seeing as this is the first smartphone I've ever owned, and I'm a 25-year-old millennial, I really should know more about this stuff than I do. I kid you not, right? The phone I've had up until now, and in fact the last two phones, because I've had but two the same, have genuinely had in their audio setting the option to put to set it to a hearing aid. So I've had what in effect would be my granddad's phone, you know, where he's still with us, and that's suited me fine. You know, I haven't needed one. I've just used Andrea's. She's more than thankful that I've got a smartphone now. Also, Mum, I've now got a smartphone. I've joined the 21st century. You should be really proud of me. Seeing as you are my only watcher or my only viewer right now, I've got a smartphone. Yay! I was going to tell you, but I haven't got round to it yet. I had to manually input all my contacts because so I tried, you know, when I did all the setup, I had to get a whole new, had to contact giffgaff and get a whole new SIM. It came in 2 days. I didn't have to, I basically just clicked a button and it came. And then the code on it meant it was my original one again, I guess. But because I don't have anything saved in the cloud or online or wherever, I guess, because it was a totally offline phone, my new one was like, oh, what do you mean there's nothing to sync over from your original phone? That's not possible. But of course it is. So I had to manually put my contacts through. Thankfully, I don't know what, I was a bit worried they were all going to disappear, but of course my old SIM still has its memory. It's still in the old phone, it's just invalid now. But I had to go through one by one, putting them all in. Not that it matters, I didn't have that many. But it's a strange thing now. Obviously I'm going to have to get a bigger plan. I got the SIM only deal because I just wanted to buy the phone outright and not have to spend a lot more each month, and I wanted to keep my phone number, which I guess nowadays you probably can with any phone, and you just ask and someone somewhere on a computer transfers it over. I don't know, but anyway, I thought I'd buy the phone outright, which didn't cost a lot. You know, I didn't get a phone with a little eye in front of it, so it really didn't, I was expecting to spend like, you must spend £700 up front and it will cost you £65 a month with a 4-year, 72-day contract. But that didn't happen, so I've now got a new phone and I'd totally forgotten what I was talking about. Manually doing contacts, that's what I was talking about. And I now might be part of the cloud, I guess. Bullshit, you'll see. A lot of people ask, am I putting on that I'm so technophobic? Is it just is it a persona because it might be a bit funny? No, I actually am. I did not get a smartphone until the 13th of February 2018, and I am 25 years old. If I wanted to check my emails or my instant messages, I had to go home and look at my computer. That was the main reason I got one, is because we don't have Wi-Fi at the workshop, and Andrea's provider isn't great, whether the signal's really not good where we are, but mine always has been because I'm with giffgaff and they use O2 and they're great where we are. So I basically needed a 4G computer to answer our armchair emails, and be able to do PayPal and whatnot in the workshop, because we've kind of been a bit archaic really. And now we can, so it's great. Not that I've been in the workshop since I got the phone, because thankfully I've got some full-time work on, which is great, because it means I can pay the flat rent and not have to worry. Yeah, that's about that on that front. Andrea's just walked in and she's none the wiser. She's got some headphones on. think she was listening to the Moulettes, but I could be wrong. It's either that or what could she be listening to? Caro Emerald, that's a favourite at the moment. Or, no, she won't be listening to Bowie because we've got the Bowie CD stuck in the car and have been listening to him non-stop for like the last 4 days, which I'm not going to complain. You know, there's like 25 tracks on that CD. It's a really, really long one. So, you're not going to keep repeating them much. But it's stuck in there, so she's probably not listening to that. I don't know what she was listening to. Oh, maybe the Triforce. We're a bit far behind on that. Need to catch up. So, yeah. She's been... So we got some curtains that we were going to... So, right. I'm going to start at the beginning of this story rather than the middle. So we traded at CP and we took the wrong tent and it leaked because it wasn't... We got a fair weather gazebo and it bucketed it down. It was appalling weather and it was totally our fault. Wrong tent, not great weather. Previously we traded out of it and we'd been fine, but it had been really clement weather. But this event, it wasn't. And anyway, before that, Andrea got some curtains from a charity shop to make the walls solid, thinking, the ceiling was fine, but the walls, because they were sort of like a mesh that you could see out of, we'd cover them up with these curtains and then it'd be great. And it was great. They worked really well until it rained through the ceiling. And then we had to go home. But these curtains, she's now dyed a wonderful blue colour. And I might, because I can see them on the chair, I'm going to show you a little bit of them. I'm sure she won't mind. This. Look how nice that is. I don't know if it's going to focus. Look how gorgeous that fabric is. That was just some sort of generic, fairly heavy-duty curtains that were like a sort of creamy off-white, and she's now dyed them blue, and therefore a new character that she's going to play at one of the new LRP games, The Forest. So there's a little sneak peek for anyone who is playing that game or has played that game and has already seen the full kit. I bet it looked great. Yeah, that's sort of all that's going on in our world. I've got some... We're making a whole suit of aluminium chain for clients, and I've got some leather armour in that I'm adding some plates to that I'm in the process of doing, but I've taken a break from that to do a little bit of sewing. Mainly it's just if I do some of my own work every now and again, then it tricks my brain into thinking I do have a work-life balance, because this is my off-work time, this is my lifetime, and it's doing stuff for me. So that's good, but it's also productive enough that my brain's not telling me off, because I should be working. Because I am, but it's for me, so it's good. I'm going to say that again. Yeah. So I've done quite well. I'm going to keep talking till I get to the end, I think. Feel free to sort of tune out as and when if you have not already. This is going to be a really long one, I think. I'm probably into the hour. I must be. Oh no, only 40 minutes. Only. I reckon it'll make it to about an hour. Andrea, you're walking through. You're not going to acknowledge me. Hello. I'm waving at you. She's not. Oh, bye. I think we're going to have chicken steaks tonight for dinner. That'd be nice. Got some frozen in the fridge. For those interested in the brass scales that are on my lapels, which I think you can see, these things here. I'll do a more in-depth talk about them when I do the whole sort of coat video. Oh, I've just stuck the end of the thread underneath it. Oh dear. They are Roman squamata scales. There we go. Yeah, we sell them at the Armoury. They are super nice. They shine up really well. Annoyingly, what I want to do, and it's another modification to this coat that I haven't taken into consideration, is I want to untie all of them and then acid etch all of them, because I can't do it. Basically, I don't think I can realistically get a is it an electrode? No, like the red wire. I can't get a positive wire connected to each scale individually. Also, I kind of want to etch further up than that's going to let me. I just want to do something simple, you know. Not a particular design. I just, you know, I'm redoing my belt buckle, and I'm doing the horse that I'm doing the applique on the back. All the armour I'm going to do in brass, so it will look the same, but you know, I have some small little brass rivets on it. But I'm going to etch all of these, so they'll have a nice like they'll have a little trim probably around the bottom, maybe some words to an orc poem, or you know, something a bit like the little Scarsind badge that I've done. But if they're all going to be etched, then I kind of don't want brass that isn't. And that, I mean, that's, you know, I won't be doing that for a year, I reckon, or a very long time. But there we go. That's sort of on the cards. It's on the list of things that I will get round to eventually. But not right now. I'm going to tie that off, I think. And I'm going to leave it there because I'm sort of running out of things to say. If I talked about stuff in an order, then it might have been good. And I might have sort of, you know, I could have told you how my day had been, and what was going on in Casa del Ashbourne. But I've sort of just rambled and spoken for long enough, and tying this off is as good a place to finish as any. So when I get this through, you're going to poke through, buddy? Yeah. Come out the eye, you can go through there, you can all tie together, and then I can snip you off. So this will be going on to the Orcs Planet channel, which is where most of the videos we do at the moment go. I might also post it on the Armchair Armoury page, because it's, you know, it's a commission for that. It's my kit that I wear, but it showcases what we can do, because we do costume bits as well as armour, and of course it includes some of the armour that we do. Like I said, Roman squamata scales we do sell in bulk. They're on the website. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you made it through, and I hope it was vaguely interesting. There will be probably more rambling videos where I just do sewing, mainly just so that it motivates me to do it. this was actually a really good exercise, I think, for me. It's nice just to take the time out, take an hour or so out of a busy day and just do a little bit of work for myself. And if, being on camera, it means I have to talk the whole time. So it's sort of, I don't know, it's good. I think it's been good for me at least. Hopefully it's been interesting to listen to. Yeah, like I said, it'll be up on the interwebs for you all to see. Thank you very much for getting to the end if you did, and if you hadn't, then well done, because you skipped out before the boring bits. And I will see you in another one. Bye guys!